right, hello. It feels good to be back doing this once again. Live streaming. It's been a while. It's actually looking back at to the last time I did this, and YouTube tells me that the last time was March 16, months ago. It feels really good to be back doing this. I've always really enjoyed getting to have conversations with people. And for those of you who've joined me on these live streams or have watched in the past, you'll notice the background is a little different. You might not have known before, but I used to be in this dungeon-like basement that happened to have a nice-ish looking backdrop. I am now out of the basement. We actually moved from Holland, Michigan, back closer to our original home in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So different house, no dungeon for me. I'm in a legitimate room for my work, for an office. So anyway, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. And honestly, I don't have too much of an agenda per se, because this is intended to be a sort of open office time. So what do I mean by an open office? I've in the past basically had guests on my live stream, and we would talk about a whole bunch of topics, whether it was innovation, AI, data-related stuff. And while I really enjoyed that, I wasn't always sure if it was the most valuable thing for the people who were watching the show. Some people definitely got value out of it. I ended up getting quite a few consulting opportunities and leads out of it. So my intent with this is really just, I don't know what the audience wants or values most about all of the various different things that I'm involved with. So I thought I'd just open up a channel here to chat and interface with the audience here a little bit. So it's not like a live stream where I have a guest on. Most of the interaction that I'm capable of right now is through the comments. So whether you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, I can see comments coming in. I can pull them up on the screen and react to them. So if you have questions about things that I'm involved with or things that we're talking about and all that, that's sort of the channel there to interact. So if you are out there, feel free to drop a comment, say hi. I'd love to say hi back to you. I do have one thing planned today, and I'm not sure if everything's going to work. But in short, I've been thinking a lot lately about just like the future of work, right? So I'm involved with a couple of different businesses. The first one being Pointe Vector, which is my consultancy firm. We focus on data, AI stuff. The second one is Deus Contemporary Ballet. That's a venture that my wife and I started, a professional ballet company based here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, doing lots of cool stuff to bring innovation into the ballet world. With each of these businesses, the sort of remote work has taken a lot of focus, like many businesses have during the COVID time. Now, obviously, with the ballet, you can't rehearse and perform except via video. You can't perform ballet as like a remote work option. So with Deus, I'm talking more on the administrative side, coordinating with marketing, the rest of our creative team and planning shows. So how do we do work more effectively, not just in a remote sense, but in what some people call asynchronous, right? So a synchronous form of work would be a meeting, right? The standard, hey, let's grab a conference room, all sit around a table and waste our time together, listening to one or two people talk about their ideas. We'll forget to make action items or anything like that. We'll all go our separate ways and have a very ineffective meeting. Stereotypical, yes, but all too common. And with remote, I've seen and have experienced more people experimenting with asynchronous work. I think the most visible form of that would be emails, right? So shooting off an email to somebody, you do expect a prompt response, maybe 48 hours or something like that, but you're not necessarily expecting, like with instant messaging, that someone's going to type back to you in the next 10 seconds or whatever. So there's some sort of expectancy of latency there, right? Like there's time in order to respond. So that's what I mean by asynchronous. You don't have to both be focused, or all of you have to be focused together working at the same time. You can sort of collect and share your thoughts as a parcel of information and let people respond to it on their own time. So, I mean, other forms of this would be things like Wikipedia, or a post on LinkedIn that people can engage with over time. And the thing that I've been really thinking about lately is how difficult it can be to build a rapport with someone, or pick up on all these nonverbal things that you get with video. So to stop bearing the lead here, I've been looking at asynchronous video work. And so I'm going to pull up a website here that sort of brought together all of the thoughts that I've been thinking about lately. And this is something I'm interested in pursuing a little bit, as I have time between Pointe Vector and Deus and, rest of life. So this is from the Tensorflow blog. For those of you who maybe aren't familiar with Tensorflow, in short, the machine learning AI field has a number of different platforms or software packages that can make working with AI simpler. And TensorFlow is a really, really popular one from Google. So it's a library of code that makes it a lot easier to make progress quicker, because some of the code's already written for you. So this is a blog post. Shan Huang has this pose animator. And why I'm interested in this pose animator is I think people are often, we're used to being on Zoom and people seeing our faces and all of that. But I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of people turn off the video on Zoom. I usually turn it off if it's one of these synchronous meetings with 50 people on a call and I'm not really expected to contribute, so I don't mind having my video off. But usually I'm pretty biased to have the video on. However, if you're talking about having this be a primary form of communication, people don't want to be on all the time, right? Like whether it's appearance, concerns about how you look, how well put together you look, or just always there's a sense of being on when the camera's on, right? And I came across this blog post where someone uses some components of TensorFlow here, right? Some AI to do pose estimation of the body. So you can probably see it here with the face and different facial features, and you can see different joints that's identifying. And the really cool thing here is they have mapped an avatar, a digital representation of the person to that pose. So no longer are you necessarily presenting exactly what you look like in this moment, but you can sort of come up with a persona, your avatar, And if you were to record a video of your thoughts and, essentially have the conversation you would have in a meeting or you would have in an email, but you record it as a short video, you could leverage an avatar to sort of break down that barrier of, the maybe perhaps the fear of being in front of the camera, but also to just make that video really clean and non-distracting, and to perhaps maybe even give you consistency in how you look, right? So today, I'm wearing this shirt. Tomorrow, I might be wearing a different shirt, or maybe one of these days I'm going to get rid of this facial hair that I've been experimenting with for a couple of weeks. Maybe it's important to have some amount of consistency, right? Like perhaps if I change my avatar overall, all of my videos can update to represent that. So you can go through, I'll post this as a comment here. On all the social media channels. You can probably grab it off of here, but sometimes it's a little bit easier to just click a link. So going through this, you can see that they're identifying a whole bunch of different key points. So you can get facial expressions and things of that nature. I thought it'd be fun to sort of share what that might look like for me. So I have oh great, it does work. The demo is live and able to be experimented with, and I'm unsure why the camera is mirrored left and right compared to where I'm at now. Excuse me. But yeah, here's sort of what's possible in the demo. I think obviously there's a lot of room for improvement with the mouth matching my sort of speech. Perhaps I'm not close enough. I don't know, but yeah, interesting. And it can, I'm going to take out my earbuds for a moment. You can see that it's grabbing more than just the face. You can do arm stuff. You could grab your legs if you were to do a full body sort of view of yourself. But right now I'm just a giraffe here, big long neck, no body. So yeah, part of why I think this is a really interesting application for asynchronous work, video-based, would be that storing video, right? Like email already takes up a ton of space on servers, and that's just text. Video, it has a lot more data associated with it. And so if you were to use something like this, where you're leveraging key points and an avatar that can be mapped to those key points, instead of storing video like what you would see up here, which is a lot of informational content, you only need to store a stream of key points, which would be a lot less data, and you'd only need to send over the avatar for the recipient of the message or recipients to be able to render that video. What's really interesting about this too, and something that I've been really itching to play with, is while Tensorflow, as I've used it in the past, I've used it locally to train up models, to do either forecasting or computer vision things, and I've usually used Python for that. There's Python bindings to the library. This right here, what we're seeing, is actually running in browser. So there's something called TensorFlow JS, JavaScript. So I don't think it would be too much to be able to integrate into a web app to integrate TensorFlow JS into a web app such that you're setting up a web RTC communication protocol for sharing real-time information between between clients, right? Between say you and me, to read off of that real-time stream of key points and pass it through TensorFlow JS and render this video right here. So I'm sort of envisioning here a threaded communication channel, right? Kind of like email. Perhaps my first thing is an email to a group of people, a video email, an avatar video message saying, hey, here's my new app, right? A new way of communicating with the team. We're gonna, totally, take over whatever Slack is trying to do, or Microsoft Teams, and go video based for all messaging. And people would be able to reply to that message as part of a thread, or maybe even select, a section of that video to send a reply to, and start building threads off of that initial thought that I pass out or somebody passes out. And then, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of different ways you could take that. You could change up your avatar. Maybe it's an avatar. You can have a different avatar for every video if you wanted. You could have a default avatar that gets applied across all your videos. But the workflow, and maybe, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should just draw up a little bit of what I'm thinking. I'm going to do that. I'll do that in Draw.io. We'll see where it comes up, which screen, if it even comes up. Uh-oh. Here we go. Yeah, I found Draw.io to be a pretty easy to use replacement for something like Visio free. So yeah, how to draw this. I'm sort of imagining there being, some web application, right, where you have your inbox of messages. Crap. Of course it doesn't line up. There we go. Something like that. And then you probably have your standard preview pane or reading pane like you would normally see in whatever web client or email client you're typically using. And hey, cool. Handy dandy little model of a person. I only really care about the head, but whatever. There you go. And can I change the name of that? Imagine this says avatar, or whatever we'll call it. And so, yeah, the idea here is the web app, it could look exactly like an email client, so that way it's familiar to whoever's used to using that sort of asynchronous pattern. And when you click on it, it pulls up the video, and what this video would need to pass in is, I'm going to represent the data come in like this. There's some service, and it needs to pass in a few things. The very first thing that it needs to pass in would be the avatar used for the image, and then the second thing would be the key point stream, right? So, that's probably a good thing to mention. In here, they sort of describe how you would create your own avatar using this. I think they call this the T-pose or something. So you could draw whatever a PNG or something of that nature and label these key points in a certain way, especially around all of the head components. And then, yeah, so here's an example of that, right? So there's the template that you download, and then you just draw around that. And then she describes, you know, all the different math that she's doing in this live demo in kind of the direction she might go with it. So yeah, anyway, it'd be interesting to maybe make a little avatar generator to make this even easier for people to come up with their own avatar. Where did we go? So yeah, that avatar would probably be an SVG sort of payload, and then a key point stream. I don't know if that'd be like protocol buffer, but all of that would be served over, I'm imagining something like WebRTC, where your client, this web app, is hooking up to the server up here to get the stream of the SVG and then the key point stream. And then, of course, in the browser here, the technology powering a lot of it, besides WebRTC, would be the Tensorflow JS package. And then the rest of this is standard web app development, which I am far from an expert in web app development. I don't know if I'd say I stay away from web app development personally, but I know it's not a strength of mine. So yeah, I don't know if this is something that people would say, yeah, that would be really cool to play around with. I was debating whether on this live stream if I was going to start pulling up the actual code from this live demo here, which if you do follow the link at the bottom, there's the try it yourself section with the live demo. She also has a guide for making your own illustration. So I didn't know if it'd be useful, and I'm definitely not prepared today. Didn't have the time to clone this repository. Looks like it's 2 years old, and edit it a little bit and see if I can't figure out how to add in a little bit of some of the components of this drawing here that we've been talking about. But some features, it's okay, so it's dangerous to talk about potential features before you even get product market fit, right? Like, is this even useful? I don't know. But the things that are bumping around in my mind here would be if you had like, oh no, I don't want to do that. Don't want to do that either. Can I move the actor? Thank you. If you had sort of what you see on all online videos, you know, this little progress bar, right? How far are you into the video? It'd be cool, I think, in this application to be able to do things like, hey, key point here, I want to respond to this spot right here, which is the beginning of some topic, or maybe that needs to be, you know, some range over which that gets selected, right? I don't know if that's actually going to do what I want it to do. No. So maybe you can click 2 points and say, all right, create a new message, right? Like a new email, and reply to this, and it would pull up, you know, the video studio for yourself to select your avatar and hit record your message, and then maybe tag other people that the message should also go to. And so if somebody had, say, a 5-minute video, which, yeah, if they had like a 5-minute video that was going over a couple of different points, it'd be kind of cool to say, yeah, you know, here's this topic you talked about, but there was also this little thing that you said at the end here that I want to respond to. So what this might look like is when you initially pull up the message, you watch it form your opinion, select a range of the video to respond to, if not the whole thing, record your response to it, shoot it back, and then when you come back to this message, you could select a completely different area, right? And say, now I'm going to respond to this part of the message, and you could shoot off a new video response for that little part. And those would show up potentially as separate messages in the person's inbox if you were sending these responses to two separate people. And so I think there would probably need to be, in addition to just this list view, I know some email clients can, Gmail, of course, shows some amount of threading, or like they embed the replies and messages, just really ad hoc and gross looking in my opinion. But I think it'd be really slick if you could have something that maybe looked like this, right? So these dots represent videos. Can I draw? Oh, let me draw an arrow. Yes, there we go. So here's the first video, maybe my announcement video once I create this whole thing. It's like, hey, person who joined this first live stream, here's my first message to you. You know, you can log in, make a free account on this app, whatever, to be able to send your own videos for free, and, you know, free email, but it's video and avatar and cool asynchronous work here. You get that and you go, cool, and you reply back to me. So this is, maybe I should have the arrow go the other way to be more clear. This video is in response to that video, right? And you say, hey, Andrew, so cool. Thanks for the invite. I think this is an awesome idea. I'm going to use this all time. I don't know, making shit up. And then I reply to that video with another one, except you gave me, say, a couple of ideas, right? You're like, hey, I love this idea. It'd be so great if we did this. And then later on in the video, you're like, oh yeah, and also this sort of, man, can I make an angled arrow instead of having to have them be straight lines? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. You have a couple of different topics or ideas that you address in there. And instead of making one massive video to reply to all of it, I could very easily just say, oh yeah, and here's a quick video in response. Man, I wish I could change that default. Probably can, but this is going to be quicker than me trying to learn it on air. Here's two videos that I now make in response to all the ideas that you shared. So there's this list view of messages, right? Which is sort of typical for an email inbox. But I'm wondering if maybe there's a better view, or when you click on it on a message, maybe that's what this is. Can I scale this whole thing down without making it, no. Scaled down, right? And maybe it fits below the preview window, and this list of messages continues on. I don't know what the user interface, how it would be best handled. But the idea is this, right? Like, I can reply with two separate videos to your one video, and this arrow not only tags, hey, this is the message that it's replied to, but also can give context to what section of that video is there. And, you know, that might turn very quickly into, you know, you got two ideas related to this one idea, or the response to my one response to one of your ideas. Ooh, I wish there was a faster way to do this. And maybe you just have a quick response of like, no, that's not what I meant. It's probably a dead end, but whatever. And yeah, somebody, you know, so let's say sent the original message. I said, hey, here's this cool idea I have for avatar video asynchronous work. Sent it to you. You respond, hey, this is a great thing. Here's a couple of ideas to think about. And when on one of those ideas, I share it with somebody else as well, right? Like I reply to you and I add in CC or also reply to, just like an email, another person who, you know, might be affected by that idea. And I say, hey, here's a response, right? Here's my thoughts on this idea here. And this is why I think an avatar would be a good idea, because especially with how personal video can be, I don't know if people would be concerned about, okay, you know, it's one thing to have my emails, you know, the reply to, you know, if they add in somebody else into the email chain and now they can see the previous messages. It's a little different if you can see what I type versus if you could see my face, right? And using an avatar, I think that would alleviate a lot of those concerns because you can sort of control your appearance to some extent. And maybe it masks some of the micro features that maybe you don't want to show. I don't know. But then there'd have to be a lot of careful thought about, you know, when you send this message back in reply to me, what are sort of the privacy controls around that? Am I allowed to CC somebody else on my response video, or can it only go to you? That doesn't, well, at least to my knowledge, the way emails typically used, that doesn't really exist, right? Limiting people from just CCing another person and then getting exposure to the rest of the email thread. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting. So yeah, this is about all I had planned for today. I don't think I'm prepared today to actually jump into code. But the reason why I was interested in talking about this is with Pointe Vector and Deus, as those teams are growing, I've been thinking a lot more about more than just remote work and about asynchronous work. How can we not just allow people to be where they want to be for work, you know, to be most effective, but how can we enable people to work when they're most effective? Because I think if you were to decouple people's not only physical presence but also their time, we might be able to get a lot more effective work out of people, enabling them to do the types of things they want to do and be happy. And I think it's just a better model of work if we can crack the nut on on making this happen. And I believe in the power of video. And I've heard a lot of apprehensions from people about, you know, their face on a particular day or whatever being able to be seen into perpetuity. That's why Snapchat is great and temporary. It goes away. People don't mind that so much. But I think there's a real opportunity here to get the benefit of video where you can actually hear someone's voice. You can see some of the facial expressions. The personal touch is there, which can get lost in remote and asynchronous work. That brings it back in while the avatar approach sort of alleviates a lot of those other concerns about, you know, privacy and all of that. And then I think the other key is, how do you organize those threads? Right. So yeah, there might need to be a visual here. So if you're watching this response to your message, you can go back and see the clip ranges of how this conversation evolved. Maybe there's tags, right, that get attached to each of these videos. You can figure out how you want to categorize them, kind of like you can have folders in your email inbox, you know, letting each person organize it the way they want, besides this sort of technical term, directed acyclic graph here. So yeah, I'd love to hear people's feedback on this. don't know how much time I'm going to be able to dedicate to slowly making progress on this, but if it's something that you think might have legs, let me know, and maybe we can collaborate on it in public. So with that, I'm going to just take down the shared screen here, and I'll just end this stream on one other point. What do open offices look like going forward? Am I going to do this every week? Is this what open office is going to look like every week? I don't know, to be honest. If I am honest, I'm really hoping for opportunities to have real-time conversations with people, which I'm now realizing is maybe ironic, given that I spent the whole first live stream talking about asynchronous collaboration and conversations, and here I am hoping for synchronous conversations. Irony, funny. But no, really, I'm interested in just trying to be a little bit more public about the things that I work on. It's really easy for me to go heads down in my cubicle, if you will, and not really share work that people might find interesting or be able to provide input on. I've really sort of centered around this idea of when they win, the ambiguous they win, you win, I win, right? So that's actually one of Deus's core values as we've looked as an organization. You know, what are our core values? What do we believe in most? And as we phrase it at Deus, it's be a good partner, right? So that's that phrase has a lot of meaning in the dance world because being a good partner has to do with partnering in dance, right? Typically, or most often seen as a guy and a girl, and the guy's lifting up or otherwise, you know, carrying the weight of the lady. And, you know, there's a lot of trust, cooperation, setting aside of an ego, and a lot of times for the guy, the job is to make the lady look as good as possible on stage because that's who the audience is looking at. Maybe sometimes gives the guys the impression that they're kind of like a prop on stage and they're for a purpose, not for beauty in and of itself. But I digress. That's the idea there, is being a good partner is about helping another person to succeed first and finding your own success in other people succeeding. So I think that's a great focus to have for a lot of relationships and for business especially. The more you can help other people, the more opportunities you have for capturing that sort of revenue or authority or whatever it is you need to help drive your business farther. So yeah, when they win, you win, right? Be a good partner. And so this is me sort of trying to act that out a little bit. The problem is I don't know how to best be a partner to people who are out there. And so instead of trying to master plan, you know, here are the things that I'm good at, I'm going to put together a really polished presentation of like, if you're looking for AI help, here is my portfolio and here's all this stuff, you know, or on the dance side, you know, like, you know, if you're running a ballet company or you're wanting to get better at dance or you're trying to figure out how to apply to dance companies, you know, whatever that content looks like, I could try to master plan, anticipate, but I feel like it's going to be a lot more successful over time and probably more helpful to just engage in conversations early on about what people want to see. So that's why I'm hoping for some more interactivity. And to be honest, I wasn't expecting a lot of interactivity today because, one, it is the very first live stream that I'm doing of this series, and two, the title for it was boring as hell, right? So, Open Office Wednesday. What is that about? No sort of call to action or any hint of what I was going to be talking about. So the odds that somebody is interested enough in me as a person is probably pretty limited in the number of people who'd be like, yes, Andrew Hoekstra is doing something, I will watch it no matter what it is. So I'm hoping for future ones of these, I'm going to give a little bit more of an idea about what's being discussed, how people might be able to engage, and probably more importantly, what you might get out of it, right? So I still need to do a bit of anticipation of what people will find as valuable, but that's what these are going to look like going forward, is me picking some sort of topic that I wonder if people think is valuable, and I'll just jump on a live stream and start talking about my thoughts around it, and hopefully find a way to engage with people and figure out how I can help. So with that, thank you very much for watching through this video, this live stream, and hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care, everyone.